Welcome, everyone. So, last time we were taking up this reason and revelation, and today we have to start with the fetish of reason. So, if anyone would like to maybe take it up, read this first paragraph. Please go ahead.
Namaskar. Yes, ma'am. Modern man has made a fetish of his intellect and reason, and that is why the evolutionary progress of his consciousness has been arrested. According to the mother, the intellect that believes too much in its own importance and wants satisfaction for its own sake is an obstacle to the higher realization. People do not regard an all engrossing satisfaction of the vital desires or the animal appetites as a virtue. The moral sense is accepted as a mentor to tell one the bounds that one may not transgress. It is only in his intellectual activities that man thinks that he can do without any such mentor or censor. Man's moral and spiritual sensibilities have been starved and atrophied by the arrogant autocracy of his intellectual reason. He cannot get away, even for a moment, from his frowning and withering look, though it must be admitted, its frowns have sometimes a sobering and salutary effect upon our lower nature. His imagination cannot soar as far and as freely as it could before, for reason damps its ardor and clips its wings. Even his intelligence has lost its ancient sweep and depth, its keenness, suppleness, and creative vigor for want of moral and spiritual sustenance. Its activities have become hectic and desultory, flurried and shallow. It has ceased to delight in the ideal, the glory that can be, the inspired thought and far-reaching reflection, but revels in petty details and niggling technicalities, and even wallows in the ugly and the repulsive, the coarse, the squalid, and the sordid. Alexis Carrel paints a true, though somewhat lurid, lurid picture of the decay of reason and intelligence in modern man. In modern civilization, the individual is characterized chiefly by a fairly great activity, entirely directed towards the practical side of life, by much ignorance, by a certain shrewdness, and by a kind of mental weakness which leaves him under the influence of the environment wherein he happens to be placed. It appears that intelligence itself gives way when character weakens. For this reason, perhaps, this quality characteristic of France in former times has so markedly failed in that country. In the United States, the intellectual standard remains low in spite of the increasing number of schools and universities. Modern civilization seems to be incapable of producing people endowed with imagination, intelligence, and courage. In 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 practically every country, there is a decrease in the intellectual and moral caliber of those who carry the responsibility of public affairs. It is chiefly the intellectual and moral deficiencies of political leaders and their ignorance which endanger modern nations. Ma'am, there are a couple of sentences above, if you can scroll down a bit down. I may miss it. In case I miss, I'll not read. But um, his imagination. Yes. So one is his imagination cannot soar as far and as freely as it could before, for reason damps its ardor, and clips its wings. Even his intelligence has lost its ancient sweep and depth, its keenness, suppleness, and creative vigor for want of moral and spiritual sustenance. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for reading. Yeah. Anyone? Any thoughts? Any reflection? So,
Sorry,
yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
the when I reason for something, when I reason, the the goal or the kind of delusion I am in is that okay, I will get more clarity and I'll expand. But the more I reason, the ego is happy because it thinks that, oh wow, so much intelligence that you're asking so many questions, so many doubts. But then in the end, it feels like I now have less than what I had before. Even like questioning certain things, and the answer comes, and then I think कि अच्छा मुझे अभी और कम पता है, ऐसा नहीं है कि मुझे ज्यादा पता है. So yeah, when I had to read that line again, as a result. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the title for me, I think said it all. I think it's like could have never thought of associating fetish with reason. Like that obsessive, irrational devotion, dedication, attraction towards something, and that's what it is. Like rather than like, how you keep pointing at that how reason is a tool, but I am a tool for reason, it seems like the way I use it. So, I mean, just this, the fetish of reason says a lot about what it is for me. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So I think if we look at the word fetish, its meaning, which I think here should be very revelatory, although we may have an idea already. It's very interesting. Two meanings I can see here. Um, I think it's maybe, I don't know where it is. The fact that somebody spends an unreasonable amount of time doing only a particular activity or thinking only about a particular thing. So that's how, as you were sharing, that's how we are as if entrapped. We are trapped in reason. It's not that we are using reason. Reason is using us. It's abusing us. I can say. Yeah, very true. Example दिया हुआ है. She makes a fetish of keeping her kitchen clean. I think we may have a idea over there. Yeah, another meaning that they give, again, that is also very revelatory. An object that a particular group of people worship because they believe it has magical powers. And that's how we use reason. What Jagan was also sharing, what you were just sharing, that as if कि वही हमारा भगवान है. So we worship reason, कि as if कि उसमें कोई जादुई शक्ति है, और उसकी वजह से we are actually away from the real magic. The more we get entrapped there, we don't realize that, yeah, we can't see truly because of that.
Yeah, another, the ironical punch, in addition, of course, to the title, is that using reason, I call it as that's my, I don't know, my supreme power, my superpower, right? Like, reason is my superpower. Anything, everything I might visualize, picture, want, and yet there is this question that, is it reasonable? Are you not being unreasonable? That kind of just kills everything. Like, that's like a big mirror that I use. And here the first line says that this is the reason why the evolutionary progress of my consciousness has been arrested. Like, when I'm using it, I'm thinking this was the most wise, intelligent, supreme thing. It shows how superior I am, to my race is superior. I am superior. I am the human being, and here it's saying that this is the reason why yeah, so
So this must appeal to our reason, that this is the reason that we are not able to soar. Now we have a reason. So what you were pointing at, the first line also, adds on to this line here, which is very revelatory. His imagination cannot soar as far as freely as it could before, for reason damps its ardor and clips its wings. This we have seen happening many a times in our day-to-day lives. You may have a very strong enthusiasm to do something, or you, as if you got a call from somewhere that, oh, I have to make this step and take a stand. Immediately within you also and around you, there would be people telling you, oh, this is not possible, don't even think about it, so many people have done it, failed, how do you think you can go ahead? And we listen to those dictates, we listen to those opinions, and so many times our, what the stand we could have taken, the step, the thresholds we could have crossed, they get dampened because of those advices and suggestions which we allow in the name of rationalism. कि सही तो कह रहा है. Yeah, so this is also connected to the first line that you were sharing, that modern man has made a fetish of his intellect and reason, and that is why the evolutionary progress of his consciousness has been arrested. इससे ज़्यादा revelatory क्या हो सकता है? In the ashram here, Sri Aurobindo Ashram, Delhi, uh, one thing which I heard Tara Didi say, which I felt that it was very as if shame on us, something like that. She said that it's so hard to find leaders, so hard. Someone who would be so dynamic, and one can just totally rely on that person, that commonsensically, and seeing the situation one would take the decision, and it would be a worthy decision. It's so hard, she says. And there are thousands of volunteers. It's not that there is any dearth of volunteers, but to find a true leader, dynamic leader who is aligned with the truth consciousness, very, very hard. Because people, we are so manipulative that even if you are, maybe trying to put somebody in front and let him take the lead, you have to supervise because you can't trust. कब वो मैनिपुलेट करने लग जाए अपने आप को और दूसरों को, यू कांट ट्रस्ट. सो it's actually shame on us that we are people around 40, 50, 60s in our life, and really 1 in 100 or 1 in 1,000 maybe we have to find which a person who can be truly called a person. So what it was shared below this one, in this paragraph by Alexis Carrel. See this one. Modern civilization seems to be incapable of producing people endowed with imagination, intelligence, and courage. In practically every country, there is a decrease in the intellectual and moral caliber of those who carry the responsibility of public affairs. Very true. And just like we are, we get the leaders also. It is chiefly the intellectual and moral deficiencies of political leaders and their ignorance which endanger modern nations. So more and more, that's why integral yoga implies also work. The divine consciousness has to be in a manifestation also. So if I have a true communion with the divine, then in fact, as if it's my responsibility, my obligation, that I have to be in the affairs of the world. Because the affairs of the world cannot just remain corrupted all the time, while all the spiritual people remain in their caves. So as mother says that the power is in wrong hands, the power has to go in right hands, where it's not misused, power and money, for example. So somebody who is a Jivan Mukta, who knows how to use the power well, who knows how to use money well, rather than people who want money and power because of the deficiency in themselves, working from ego consciousness. We need such people in the forefront. And even if one leader we see, at times it happens that there are a couple of leaders who are working like that intensity and like more like a Jivan Mukta, and it's very inspirational that this is also a possibility. And in this, although again each nation has its own qualities and like a soul of each nation, like Sri Aurobindo says, but Sri Aurobindo talks about this, that India slowly, because of its spiritual roots and the culture, usually the educational culture it had earlier, before it was captured by the British. So that Sri Aurobindo says that it has to come forward and it has to be a guiding light for all the nations, because it has the culture, it has the spiritual roots, the Vedic roots, the rishis, the seers, and that is not coming from reason. That knowledge is not coming from reason. That's true knowledge. That's advancement of consciousness. So I think every time we are saying something, we are trying to make sense of something, trying to find logic in things where actually we don't need to run that machine. We can stop the fetish. We have to step back. That's how practically we can put it into practice. That wherever we see that, oh, this machine has started running again, where it is not needed, to step back and to stop fueling that machine. And that's how we conserve energy and save energy for the right actions and right work in our life. Not trying to make sense of everything that happens in the world. And that too trying to make sense with our own little mind, little reason. And we will see that it saves a lot of energy, leaves a lot of energy for putting things into action, while we are always stepping back from action, lost in intellectualization, philosophization, thinking that, oh, we are so intellectual beings. See, I discuss about these things. And so from that discussion part now, we can come to action part, because there would be less and less drainage of energy. So the intellect that believes too much in its own importance, Mother says, and wants satisfaction for its own sake, is an obstacle to higher realization. So those of us who want now to go ahead, only for them this may resonate, that if we want to access those higher domains of our consciousness, which is our birthright, then we have to step back from this trap. People do not regard an all engrossing satisfaction of the vital desires or the animal appetites as a virtue. Very true. We don't regard it as a virtue. तुम खाए जा रहे हो, you're consuming, reproducing, animal appetites. We don't see it as a virtue. The moral sense is accepted as a mentor to tell one the bounds that one may not transgress. Very true. It is only in his intellectual activities that man thinks that he can do without any such mentor or censor. So there we actually become licentious. Okay, is domain mein to I can do anything. So we misuse it and we get misused by it, because there is no limit to that. Because, oh, I am the one who is ruling a vital, impulses, so I can do anything. It's like, a leader gone berserk. If a leader thinks that, oh, I am the one who is the ruling the whole kingdom and keeping everything under check, then nobody is seeing me, so I can do anything. And he doesn't even know that actually in that he is under the subjection of his own quality that he thinks. So to have that kind of self mastery, I think it's very important, and all of us can do it, if we are convinced. To have that kind of self mastery, that whenever the moment you click of a finger and you step back from reason. So at will, one is able to do it. Slowly, there comes a time actually where reason has no place. You switch into such a consciousness where reason is not required, it has served its purpose. तो वो switching की भी जरूरत नहीं है, that it is required. And you work from higher reason, which comes from the knowledge above, which is not coming as a series of deduction of these step number 1, step number 2, step number 3, step number 4. It's not as a result, the knowledge which is not as a result. So there is also a reason above reason, which is not a result of deductional reasoning, which makes sense just because it is true. Now, as a secondary support, we can of course say that, oh, if you try to make sense, this will hold true. But how that knowledge came was not by deductional analysis. The knowledge was direct, but you can do deductional analysis on that and it will hold true. Like what we do, like Upanishads, or all the true knowledge that we have. So if we actually use our pure reason mind and begin to actually talk about it, all of it will begin to make sense. Yes, so true, so true, so true, so true. But that knowledge that they got was not coming out of a deductional analysis. It was just a direct knowledge. It was just what we say, revealed, revelation. So before that happens for us, we have to continue to step back. Man's moral and spiritual sensibilities have been starved. That's why we have so much commotion in shopping malls, places of entertainment, crowded because we are starved. What is soul food, what is spiritual food, that we are not giving us. We are giving us all our comforts to us. We are giving all kind of luxuries to us. But wo jo spiritual satisfaction hai, that is not there with us. So man's moral and spiritual sensibilities have been starved and atrophied by the arrogant autocracy of his intellectual reason, like a dictatorship. He cannot get away even for a moment from its frowning and withering look, though it must be admitted its frowns have sometimes a sobering and salutary effect upon our lower nature. So, knowing that it is able to do relative degree of regulation on lower nature. So, an eye, a supervising eye on the lower nature, that what are you doing? So, its frowns have a sobering effect on the lower nature, and that cannot be denied. But it is abused and overused. That has to be accepted, seen at least. And the lines below are also very revelatory, how we become so dogmatic and rigid in our ideas of mind. So here he says, even his intelligence has lost its ancient sweep and depth. So we remain on the surface, then we have an ego clash. This is what we call an ego clash. You are reasoning with somebody else, and because we are unable to go to the expanse of reason, there is no expanse and vastness, so we have a clash, and then we say let's agree to disagree, right? Because we don't have that depth and wideness. So even his intelligence has lost its ancient sweep and depth, its keenness, wanting to know, wanting to expand, suppleness, flexibility, and creative vigor for want of moral and spiritual sustenance. Its activities have become hectic, desultory, without any true purpose, round and round. In Savitri, it is shared again and again that it is just like a purposeless rumination, flurried and shallow. What Jagan was sharing in the beginning, that although I may question and try to understand, but still I haven't got anything. I'm still empty handed. So exactly that, desultory, flurried, and shallow. All that rumination doesn't give us anything apart from maybe an ego boost at times. That let's see, I had the power, discuss and whatever. It has ceased to delight in the ideal, the glory that can be, the inspired thought and far reaching reflection, but revels in petty details. This is very common. How we pick up these petty details and try to make sense of it, and it is zero, like there is nothing there apart from some regurgitation of reason. Revels in petty details and niggling technicalities, and even wallows in the ugly and the repulsive, the coarse, the squalid, and the sordid. If only we can lose this bad taste, it would be so nice. And I think in parallel, we have to develop a new taste, a taste for something loftier, higher. Somewhere we have to keep ourselves worthily occupied. Only then we can lose this bad taste. It's a very bad taste that all of us have. But Just by stepping back, only by stepping back, I feel, that it may not just be very successful. While I'm stepping back from all this gul round and round, rumination, I have to actually make my mind occupied at a higher and a loftier place. So that rehabilitation parallelly is very necessary, because we all need delight. Why we ruminate and regurgitate? Because we have a delight in these lower things. And if parallelly I begin to get delight somewhere else without this bitter taste, then it will let go of this older addiction. And we all have to find that, what is my rehabilitation? How do I rehabilitate myself? Yeah. So, any further reflections on the fetish of reason? Anyone?
I was thinking that even many, all of what Sri Aurobindo and mothers said about the next step in evolution, the supramental being, and so it's something that our reason cannot grasp. And I was thinking a lot of examples, like how our imagination, our perspective of what is possible is, surrounded by our limiting reason. Even when all we talk in the healing sessions, like about spiritual healing and the yogic aspects, so it's something that I think many people don't even feel allowed to think about the idea that maybe spiritual factors and internal aspects of our being could be related to healing. I know that there's so much examples about how I will live in a limited framework that really mm, limits so much what is possible, because we cannot even imagine it.
Yeah, it's a very sad state of affairs if we actually begin to look at it, where we have reached, how we try to dampen our true spirit, which always is trying to jump out and do something, get into action, but we dampen it with abuse, and then the kind of mediocre lives that we live. It's really saddening, really very saddening. And it's the hallmark of a mediocre life, I would say, is that I look for more and more opportunities to excite myself. So titillation of senses, all this excitement that we get going by going to these entertainment zones, that tells me that what kind of a life I am living, because I am always, we are always really suffocating our soul, so that true adventure we don't have. So we crave for an outer adventure, that somewhere in a virtual reality, let me have an adventure, because we are all here for adventure. What mother says, that all the souls jumped, and okay, let us go into this adventure from darkness to light. And because we have suffocated ourselves in our own prisons, and lost that spirit of adventure. Lesser and lesser risks we want to take. In Savitri, there comes a line where he says, danger was a sweet sweep, like, a sweet taste gave danger. Ashupati's yoga. Like, and each day was a pilgrimage to God, like a spiritual romance, the word that he uses. And imagine that if we actually, and all of us, it is our birthright, to have a spiritual romance in the sense, and romance is coming from the word adventure, the spirit of adventure. Each day is a spiritual romance. If it can be like that, then who would need all this titillation of senses in the malls or wherever, we so many opportunities that we try to get our hands onto, because our lives are dull and mediocre. So if we actually begin to look at it, it's a very sad state of affairs where we have landed ourselves into. We must look into it, go through that sadness of looking into it. Yeah, anything more? Yeah. So I'm very tempted to share this. Sorry for this temptation. See this one. So when he grows in his consciousness, Asupati's yoga, he says, in every hour loosed from the quiver of time, there rose a song of new discovery, a bow twang's hum of young experiment. Each day was a spiritual romance, as if he was born into a bright new world. Adventure leaped an unexpected friend, and danger brought a keen, sweet tang of joy. Each happening was a deep experience. So, this is how we have to live life. This is our birthright, we are born for this. Danger brought a and how in our day to day life, see how we remain away from danger. We will have all kinds of life insurances signed and see that, oh, yes, now I am protected. Walking on risky edges, and taking chances. That's how we learn to have intuition. Intuition is like a muscle. How would I know that I am having intuition if I don't walk that path? If you have intuition, you want to do something, and then the reason comes and damps the intuition. You don't take that step forward. Risk avoided, danger avoided, yes, all that is true. But then you need TV in front of you to make you entertained, because the adventure opportunity has been lost. Yeah. Each hour, making use of every hour that we have, every moment, every hour. In every hour loosed from the quiver of time, there rose a new song of new discovery. Each day can be an experiment, beautiful experiment. Each day does not have to be a mundane day, another Monday, not like that. Another beautiful opportunity, a bow twang's hum of a young experiment. Each day was a spiritual romance. Now there can be a richness in life, a fullness in life. Adventure leaped an unexpected friend, and danger brought a keen, sweet tang of joy. This tang we miss in our day to day lives. If we keep looking for artificial tang, there is flavored tang that comes. You mix it in water and it's like an orange. It's a tang. So that tang we miss in our lives. Each happening was a deep experience. So, anything more on fetish? Anyone? Oh, sorry. So then it is a degeneration of reason. But my thought is that we should maybe take a pause here. We should not go to the next paragraph. It may seem, I don't know, abrupt, but I think we should stop here. There is much to do with this paragraph. You can't just go on and read too much. Just this much, I would like to stop here today. And maybe experiment in our lives, what we have read today, that what all is possible. Because life is short, we don't know how much we have left. We may think that, oh, okay, an average human life is 70, 80, whatever years, but we are not sure whether we have those years or not. So even one day, each day, passing day is precious. So to make the change right away while we are reading something, to parallelly keep making changes, that's why we read. Otherwise, reading is just a mental, whatever, rumination. Yeah, so anything more? Any last comments here? Okay. Yes, Deepa?
Yeah, I resonate with the point where you all say, where you mentioned that how we try to bring excitement into our lives with, various activities that we are doing. Um, so I was just wondering, I mean, of late you see so many people wanting to travel and they all want to go to, different places, Europe, and, you want to see far-flung areas. There's no objective, it's just more like a fad. Everybody's going, everybody's asking each other where you're going this summer. You want to say you've gone somewhere. I myself have traveled also with my family, and honestly most of these trips are just photo ops, and there is no objective. You're not learning so much about the culture. Very few people go into museums or anything. It's just, you've got pictures for your Instagram and your Facebook. So is this also a part of that whole wanting to increase excitement into your lives? It seems empty. You think you'll go somewhere, you'll like it. People come back mostly burnt out from a vacation itself, instead of being a rejuvenating experience. So is this part of that whole fad that we are creating for ourselves?
Actually, I don't know because I won't be able to comment for others, है ना? क्योंकि ऊपर से whatever image we may get, whether through Instagram or anything, it's very hard to comment on what others are doing. But it's good
Yeah,
to. Hmm,
let me rephrase it.
hmm.
It's part of my own personal experience actually. I always thought that traveling will give me joy. We did that. Came back actually more tired and fatigued. Um, uh, you talk more about it rather than actually that experience moving you. You tell your friends, oh, this is good, that place is good, this was that, and it was more of a talking point. It was more of a exhibitionist kind of a point, or a tick in the box that okay, I traveled here. I traveled to Europe, I traveled to Africa, and I did the safari and all of those things. So after I went to a couple places and traveled, then I realized there's no charm in it either. Because unless there is something more deeper to it, And yeah, like you said, I'm not negating all travels and trips or something. I mean, there might be so many purposes why people do that. But just a general, very touristic kind of a thing, it doesn't excite me anymore. So I guess it is part of that whole experience where you think, okay, this is going to provide me what is lacking or missing, or increase my point of view of the world and everything. But really, this is not it.
Yeah, I think now it's more clear what you just shared. Yes, thank you. The idea is, again, there is nothing bad, I feel, with traveling or, right, going on vacation. By itself, that thing is innocent. But how we approach it is the way, I think, that we have to look. So usually we always approach what you were already sharing. We approach it like, this is going to give me that fulfillment, that joy, that delight that I'm waiting for, because the life is so dull otherwise. So the focus is that, why should life be dull otherwise? Why can't we be an inner traveler into this bottomless infinity that we have within us, all of us? है ना, मतलब अंदर जाना आप शुरू करो, you lie down. This body seems like this much, like, okay, this is my body. यहाँ से शुरू, यहाँ पे खत्म, right? This is how it seems, you know. But if you go deeper into the body, you close your eyes. Will you find a T point? Will you hit a wall? All of us know that we don't. We can go deeper and deeper and deeper into that darkness, which seems in the beginning a darkness, right? So inner traveling is also possible. So the idea is that whatever I am doing, if I am doing a job, if I am in a relationship, anything, I don't approach it as consumption. This is going to give me fulfillment. The true fulfillment, what we were reading also in these lines, the true fulfillment is always been here, but now maybe after so much running, because you shared that, as I have done that, and I see that it doesn't provide me that which I'm seeking. So now one can stop. And stop means, again, the approach. You still travel, but you don't approach it as giving you that, consuming that thing for your own fulfillment. The fulfillment is there, and you can still travel to connect, to interconnect, to see other cultures, as you were sharing, to find the depth and richness in other hearts, to see that we are all connected irrespective of languages that divide us, because we all are human beings. We have same minds, we have same emotions, we are struggling with similar difficulties. All of us are sticky to something or the other. All of us are trying to get rid of that stickiness. So that is our commonness, that we share, irrespective of cultures and countries and everything. So then it has a different meaning. Travel has a different meaning. So yeah, I think what you were sharing was already pretty clear, that our approach has to be different, and that would be different only when we ultimately give attention to that within ourselves which deserves that attention, which is waiting to be revealed. Once that is in place, then everything is okay. Sri Aurobindo used to smoke a cigar, but the moment somebody said, oh, you leave the cigar because maybe other people are getting inspired to smoke, so you said, okay, left, didn't even think about it, another time. So that, if I can, then I can enjoy the coffee, I can enjoy the tea, I can enjoy everything, but I'm not sticking to it. I can enjoy reason, but reason is not consuming me. So we have all, I think that's where we come back to human purpose in life, why we are taken birth, so that we can be masters of ourselves. तो उसकी तरफ हम कदम तो बढ़ाएं, उसकी तरफ हम आगे तो बढ़ें. We all try to be masters of other people around us, so it's a distortion. We try to fix other people's behavior. It's a distortion of that mastery that we are seeking in ourselves. हमको लगता है वहां कंट्रोल करना है, बट वहां नहीं करना है, यहाँ करना है. Here we lies the true mastery. So that's what all of us have to do. Difficult है, मुश्किल है, but it's a worth adventure. That's why we are here. Worthy, this is what we carry forward. last two, I don't know which session we were talking about what we carry forward. Either I can carry my desires forward, this bundle of desires that I have, which are not going away. Either I carry that forward, the desiring being goes forward, you know, or this life itself, I die to the desire soul and I wake up to the true soul. That also I carry forward. That's a true life lived, that you carry forward all this assimilation. That's also our possibility. It's a worthy possibility. Yeah. I have been given the bundle of desires as this people around me. Not so little for us, like really big. Yeah. So any few comments, any last comments? Okay, so let's maybe take a pause here. Yes, Yuan, please.
Just it was a very nice session. I was very inspired by what you said.
Yeah, thank you. So let's take a last moment in silence just to share, dedicate the collected merit from this reflection, understanding. Yeah, may we all have adventure, joy, progress in our life, which is our birthright. We all claim that birthright.